Hey everyone, it's Kaycienikole, and today we're going to go through a mini stretching and releasing practice where the emphasis is going to be on the hips and into the lower back. These can be really tight areas for people, so rather than going in with more aggressive stretches, we're going to go in with more of a soft approach to help release and unwind. The postures are going to be done from a reclined position. And I would recommend having 2 blocks available, have them somewhere nearby the back of your mat so you don't have to get up, grab them, and come back down when we're ready. Other than that, just you, your body, and your mat. So we're going to get started today on our backs in a reclined butterfly position. So if you want blocks, you can use blocks to support underneath the knees, or you can just deal without if it feels comfortable for you to just lie there and let gravity do its work for you. So come down onto your back. Soles of the feet come together. Knees open up wide. And once again, feel into it. If you feel any pressure or tension, bring the blocks for support underneath the thighs or knees. And if you change your mind at any point, if it feels good now, but that changes here in a few breaths, you can always make adjustments. But let's start to work out the fidgets in the body. Let the movements come out, let them surface and release until you can find a bit more stillness. And you can play with the feet placement a little bit as well. So if you want to pull the heels closer towards the groin, great. If you want to push them a little farther away, that's also great. You'll notice that as you play with the positioning of the legs, that you can kind of tap into different sensations within the hips. So play until you feel the right amount of opening across the front of the hips and groin. Once you feel that, just let yourself settle in. Your hands can rest on your body. They can rest out to the sides. They can even rest overhead, whatever you prefer. But make sure it's a restful position, nothing that's going to create too much strain or discomfort. And then as you close your eyes, go ahead and relax your breath all the way out of your body. Through your nose, begin to breathe in, fill up into your belly, fill up into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest and your shoulders, pausing here for a moment. And then open up the mouth and let it go. Again, slow inhale, fill up the belly to the ribs and all the way up into the chest. Hold it here, fully expanded. And then open up the mouth and let it go. Let's do one more, keeping the breath through the nose the whole way through. Let's take an inhale through the nose, all the way up and around. Pausing briefly and then keeping the breath through the nose as you exhale just as slowly, empty back out from the top to the bottom. And then let your breath relax a little bit here. You can really focus on belly breath through this practice, especially as we won't be incorporating a whole lot of movement up and down. We're going to stay on our backs and we're going to try to relax. So with that, as we belly breathe and feel that expansion through belly and lower back, we're going to feel more of that rest and digest mode, which is exactly what we're looking for. Go ahead and give yourself another breath here. Now, if at any point you want that extra support with your legs, great. You also have the option of stretching your legs out long if you prefer for this next little sequence we'll go through. So if you're going to stretch out, stretch out. Otherwise, keep your left leg in the butterfly position. You're going to lift the right knee and start to draw it in towards the chest. Use your hands, maybe cupping around the knee or around the thigh, and just start to pull it in towards the chest. And if this is your first movement of the day, notice if there's a lot of tension. If you're pretty warmed up already, notice how much depth is available to you. Maybe you stay just pulling the knee towards the chest. If you want to access a little more space, you can open the knee slightly towards your right armpit and pull it in a little deeper. Keep the lower back nice and glued down to the ground. I'll give you one extra step if you want to take it into more depth and your body is giving you permission to do so. Maybe half happy baby variation. Right hand reaches through the inside of the right leg and holds the foot. You can also hold anywhere along the leg, but try to get the sole of the foot to face up towards the ceiling as best as you're able. And then gently pull down, getting the knee to bend towards the floor beside you. Now we're going to hold here for a few breaths. So try to relax extra tension from your body. Use only what is necessary here. And then focus all of your breath attention to those areas that feel tight and resistant to try to start softening some of that stickiness that we might feel. So melt through your facial muscles. And even though you're using your arms, try to soften your shoulders a bit. Let's take one more deep breath from whatever variation you're in. Now we're going to gently release, bring the knee back to the chest. If you're holding onto the foot, you're just swapping and grabbing the knee instead. We're going to take this into a twist. So go ahead and hold onto the knee with your left hand and let your right arm fall out to the side. Take a deep breath in here. And as you exhale, pull the knee across the body over to the left and down towards the floor, coming into a nice twist. That right shoulder blade is going to stay grounded on the floor. If it starts to peel up, back out of your twist until it can settle back down. Maybe your head rolls over the right shoulder, or maybe it stays neutral. It's up to you. Each breath in, notice how your body fills up with air. And each breath out, you're just taking it in a little deeper. 2 more breaths here. If you adjusted your head, let's bring it back up to center. And then lift the knee back up to center. Now we're going to set the foot back down, either back into that half butterfly, or extend it out if that's the variation you're taking. We're going to do the same thing on the other side now. So lifting your left knee, draw it in towards the chest. Right leg can stay in butterfly or extend it out. And then just start to pull the knee in. As that left knee draws in towards the chest, same thing. Run that quick assessment. Just because your right side did something doesn't mean your left side is going to do the exact same thing. So feel into this side. If it's giving you permission to go deeper, maybe start to open the knee towards your left armpit and pull it in a little more. And then that last offering, not forcing, especially in the beginning, we're just feeling into the spaces that are available. If you'd like to go into half happy baby, left arm reaches through the inside of the leg, grabbing a hold of foot or anywhere along the way. Sole of the foot faces up and the knee is gently bending down towards the ground. Now, as you come into this shape, try to relax your shoulders a little bit. Relax your face, just like we did before. Try to release all that unnecessary tension. And then we can focus on what's really here. And just surrendering into that space, feeling that deep release. Slow breaths in and out of the nose, really expanding through the belly and expanding through the lower back, releasing just the same. Give yourself just a couple more breaths in this position. Now, as you release a hold of the foot, if you're in half happy baby, let's all pull the knee back in towards the chest. So the left knee draws back in. We're going to take it into the twist. So hold on to the knee with your right hand and let your left arm just fall out from the shoulder. Take a deep breath in to prepare. And then exhale, pull the knee over to the right and down while keeping the left shoulder blade grounded. Maybe the head rolls over to the left side if it feels all right into the neck. And then same thing. As you anchor into the shoulder, you're going to feel the subtle motion of breath moving through your body. So inhaling, you're expanding, you're opening. And each exhale, you're releasing the breath and you're drawing deeper into that vacated space. Let's take just a couple more, wringing out the spine. Now let the head come back up to center if it adjusted. Lift the knee back up to center and set the foot down. Now you can extend the legs out, shake them out. Otherwise, we're going to meet back in this butterfly position. From your butterfly, let's activate the legs a little bit here and see if we can hover the feet right above the ground. If that's not happening, imagine that you're trying to hover the feet right above the ground and it will activate the exact same muscle groups. Let's hold here, one more breath. Now, if the feet aren't lifted, you're just going to pivot your feet on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to slowly lift the knees, separate the feet, take the feet wide, set them down. So the feet are going to touch the edges of the mat and let the knees knock in and rest on one another. So this is a really restorative position. It feels really nice in creating a broadening into the lower back. So we're going to be here for a few breaths. And then we're going to take it into more and more depth. So allow yourself to just feel the sensation of gently opening the space into your lower back. Internal rotation on the hips, which is what we're doing now with the knees dropping inward, is going to broaden the lower back and feel that sense of grounding and opening through all that compression that we build in our lower backs. 2 more breaths. Now, if you want to stay here, this feels great, stay. If you want to add a little more depth into the position, let's separate the feet a little wider until there's a gap of space between the knees. If that gap puts too much tension on the joints, just walk the feet back towards the edges of the mat until they can rest on one another again. Let's take 2 more breaths, just letting gravity do its work. Feeling that draping, that opening. Right now, you're going to feel a strong emphasis on outer hips. And then we're going to slowly start to walk the feet back in as you open up the knees again. And once your feet are about hips width apart, just windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Okay. The next one we're going to do is going to add that internal and external. So we're going to get the inner hip and outer hip opening. And we're also going to get some releasing into the lower back and some nice elongation through the entirety of the body. So once the knees come back up to center, let's separate the feet the width of the mat. And once they're there, let's take the arms out from the shoulders. You can have a bend into the elbows. That's just fine. And then we're going to start by letting the knees drop to the left side. I'm going to do this for visual purposes so you can see exactly what's going on as we move through this. So with your feet the width of the mat, as the knees drop to the left side and you kind of swivel on your feet, your legs will be in a staggered position. This is exactly what we're looking for. Your right leg to hip is going to be an internal rotation. Your left side is external rotation. So you're going to notice that top leg that's in internal rotation, you're going to have a nice opening into that lower back space. And we will emphasize it here. So you can either stay exactly as you are, or if you'd like more depth today, maybe place your left foot on top of the right thigh or knee. Left foot to right thigh or knee. Now the foot that's on the ground, your right foot, it doesn't have to be glued into the position that it was set up in. If you want to play with the placement a little bit, you can walk the foot out a little bit wider. You can walk it in a little bit closer and notice how those little micro adjustments help you to find what feels best for you. So play with the variations, play with those little adjustments. And once you find that nice opening, give yourself 2 more deep breaths. Moving the breath in and out of your nose and then really expanding into the belly and low back. Okay, so for this next variation that we're going to come into, I don't like to have the foot resting on top. I feel like it adds a little too much pressure. So if the foot is rested on top, go ahead and bring it back down to the ground. Keep the legs in this staggered position, still tilted over to the side. We're going to take the right hand up towards the ceiling. And as you do, start to reach over to the left as you rock up onto your left shoulder. And then just let your right hand come down to the ground in front of you. Now you're going to walk your right fingertips away from you as though you're trying to roll your chest towards the ground. And as you walk your right fingers away, they don't have to be directly in front of you. Maybe they walk slightly overhead. I want you to play with the angles until you feel the right shape to open up from the hip to the fingertips. Now, once you have that, you can either keep your top leg exactly where it is, or you can kick out through the heel, reach it behind you, extend it out, reach out through the toes, play with the placement and the angles. That's what's going to help you to tailor this to your needs. Now, as your fingers reach away and your chest rolls down, your foot is reaching away and your hip is rolling open. So just feel kind of that center point that's reaching in opposition, that's lengthening all the way down through your lower half, but also lengthening through your upper half. Try to relax the head if you can here. Give yourself 3 deepened breaths. And then you're going to slowly walk the top hand in, walk that top foot back in until you can roll onto your back again, arms out to the sides, and the knees swivel back up to center. We're going to do the same setup, step by step, for the other side. So arms out, feet the width of the mat, and then now let the knees drop to the right side. As they drop to the right, check in with the hips, see how everything feels in there. And you can stay right here in this variation. Or if you want to add the depth, right foot can rest on top of your left knee or thigh. And then just let it settle in. If that's too much, you just come out. Blocks underneath the knees can also add a little added support when you might feel cranky in your knees. Just helps so that gravity is not pulling too much in those angles. But support can always be great. So take it if you want. Give yourself, let's take 3 more breaths. Okay. If the foot is on top, let's go ahead and bring it back down to the ground. Left hand is going to reach up towards the ceiling and then start to reach it all the way over to the right side as you rock up onto your right shoulder. Let your left hand come all the way down to the floor in front of you. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side. You aren't going to be able to see as well. So just follow the same steps. Start to walk your left fingertips away from you. Play with the angle. Maybe walk them overhead, maybe directly out in front of the chest, and feel your chest start to roll down towards the ground. Once you have that settled, you can keep your top leg as it is. You can kick back through the heel. You can extend out through the leg, however you'd like, and feel the hips starting to turn open as the chest turns down. And make sure that it's not creating any pinching. You want to move through that to find spaciousness. So play with the angles until you feel long, lengthened. You're able to reach and take 3 deep breaths here. All right. Slowly start to walk the top hand in, walk the top foot in until you're able to roll onto your back, arms to the sides, and knees swivel right back up to center. Let's hug the knees into the chest, wrap your arms around, and just give yourself some sway side to side. Okay. Once you come to center, you're going to keep the knees bent, but set the feet down to the ground. We're going to reach over for one of our blocks, just one. And your block can be at a lower setting, mid setting, or high setting, depending on the space that's available. You'll know because you're going to lift the hips off the ground, and all you're going to do is fill the space between your sacrum and the floor, the back of the pelvis and the ground. So slide your block underneath your sacrum, that bony triangular shelf, the back of your pelvis. Now, once you feel that firm connection, just relax onto it. If it's too much, lower the block down. If it's too little and you want more, you can always adjust the block to be higher. The choice is yours. We're going to be here about 4 deep breaths. Feet are stacked underneath your knees. Arms can rest where they're comfortable. Relax the muscles in your face and just concentrate on deepening your breath in and out of your nose, expanding and releasing through the belly and low back. Let's take 2 more breaths for good measure. All right, so if your block is on the highest setting, I would recommend taking it down to one of the lower 2 settings. That way it's just a little more stable. The higher it goes, maybe a little more wobbly that it becomes. So from here, we're going to lift the feet off the ground. Adjust your block as much as you need to. And then we're going to extend the legs up towards the ceiling and just kind of get that nice release from the feet all the way down to the hips, and from the hips draping all the way down the spine to the floor. And just allow yourself to be in here. 3 breaths. Feel that sensation of trickling, releasing, restoring. Okay. We're going to start to bend the right knee. Pull the right knee towards the chest. Use your hands to kind of draw it in. And then we're going to take the left leg, reach out through the foot and toes, and start to extend the leg forward in front of you. Reach it out long. Pull the right knee in closer, and just feel that stretch across the front of your left hip. Your foot might stay lifted, but if it does, it's not due to muscular effort. You're keeping it lifted by pulling your right knee in closer and creating that teeter-totter effect, which brings lightness into your left leg. Maybe it hovers, but it's also okay if your foot rests down on the ground. And in fact, sometimes it feels nice to anchor down through the heel and pull in so you get an even deeper stretch with a little bit of resistance with the foot rooted down. Whatever variation you choose, give yourself about 4 to 5 slow breaths in and out of your nose. One more breath here. So to come out, we're going to walk the left foot in or bend the knee and draw it in, and then slowly release both legs back up towards the ceiling. Feel free to roll out through the ankles, any little movements here that feel good. And then when you're ready, let's bend the left knee Use your hands to pull it in towards your chest. Right leg extends out nice and long, and then start to draw the leg out in front of you. Reach it out long. Either keep it in a hover by pulling your left knee in closer and feel that teeter-totter effect, or right heel anchors down to the ground and then pull from that space. Whatever feels best for you, even though you're using your arms to draw in, try not to overuse the shoulders. Relax them as much as you're able to. And from wherever you are, let's take about 5 breaths, deepening the breath in and out of the nose, and then soften whatever you can here. One more breath. Now you're going to start to bend your right knee, lift it in, and then extend both legs up. Feel free to shake them out, move them however you please. And then as you reach up through the legs, you're going to point out through your toes, and let's just open the legs out nice and wide. So you're coming into this wide straddled position. You can use your hands to the outer legs to help offer a little bit of support, or hands can come to the insides of the thighs and use this to help kind of open and pull them closer towards the floor. Sometimes it feels good to walk the hands to the calf muscles if that's available to you. Give yourself just a few more breaths. Now, hands come to the outer legs. Help to lift the legs back towards each other. Bend the knees. Set the feet to the ground one at a time. Press through the feet, lift the hips, remove the block out from underneath you, set it off to the side, and then let the spine and hips come back down to the floor. Windshield wiper your knees from side to side. We're going to finish off with some side body opening. So we're going to take banana pose from our backs. What we're going to do from here, with the bend into your knees, you're going to lift the hips, and your hips can kind of swivel side to side while keeping your feet down, okay? We're going to swivel the hips to the right and then set them down so that they're kind of on the edge of the mat. They're touching the side of the mat, or as close to that as you can, okay? Now keep the hips to the side. The rest of the body is still going to be centered on the mat. Just the hips, they're now off that center point. Now we're going to stretch the legs out long. Left foot can stay kind of into the center of the mat. You can always walk it out wider if you need more depth in this position. But what we're going to do is we're going to cross the right ankle over the left shin and then slide the foot down until it can straighten out. Okay? If you slide it all the way down with the ankles crossed and it still doesn't feel like enough, then take the left foot a little wider and repeat the same step. Right ankle crosses over, slide it down the shin until you feel the depth. Your right hip is going to stay down. It's not peeling off the ground and coming up onto your left hip. You want to keep your hips equally grounded here. Once you find the leg positioning, let's work on the arms. Arms reach up and over your head. Go ahead and grab a hold of your right wrist. As you grab your right wrist with your left hand, you're going to pull it over to the side. If you want to walk your shoulders over to the left a little bit, you can do that as well. But same thing, we want to keep both shoulder blades on the ground. We don't want one to lift up. You can keep your elbows bent. If you want, you can kind of pull a little bit more through the right arm, maybe try to extend it out, whatever feels best for you. Okay, if you need support, take support. Do what feels best. If holding onto your wrist doesn't feel good, you can also walk the hand up the forearm or even hold on to the elbow, depending on what feels better in your body. Now you can see why it's called banana pose, because you are creating that banana arc shape through the body. Hopefully you feel a nice opening from your right hip all the way up that right side towards your arm, and just allow yourself to release into all the sensations that you feel from that. Let's take about 3 or 4 more deep breaths here. Let's take one more deep breath here for good measure. And then slowly release. Let your upper body unwind. Let your lower body unwind. Make sure you're still centered in the mat. Hips scoot on back. And then let's bend the knees here for a moment and just windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Relax that space before we do the other side. Okay. So with your body centered on your mat, you're going to press the feet, lift your hips, and just like we did before, the swivels side to side, try to swing your hips to the left and let them rest down so that they're kind of lined up more towards the edge of the mat. Now, keeping that here, let's slowly stretch the legs out long. Start with the right foot in the center or kick it out a little bit wider. Left ankle crosses over the shin. Keep the left glute down as you slide your left ankle down. Maybe the ankles cross. Okay, make those adjustments. Find the depth that's appropriate for you. Okay, come in and out as much as you need to. Then arms reach up over the head. Grab a hold of your left wrist. Start to pull it over to the right. Maybe walk your shoulders over to the right. Keep both of the shoulder blades down. And you can either keep the elbow bent on that left arm or you can straighten it out. You can keep the right hand at the wrist or you can walk it down to the forearm or to the elbow. Find what feels best to create that side body elongation. Close your eyes, relax your jaw, and give yourself about 5 deepened breaths in this position. Really focus on the depth of the breath and bringing the oxygen into those tight, sticky spaces. Last breath here. Now start to unravel. Let the upper body come back to center. Release the arms. Let the lower body come back to center. Release the legs. Scoot the hips back into the center. And then hug the knees to the chest and sway yourself from side to side. We're going to finish with just a mini little final resting pose. You can either just take Savasana, that's perfectly fine. Or if you want a little bit more release into the lower back today, you're going to take your blocks, whatever height works for you. I like them on their mid height personally. And you're going to set them up so that as you come into your Shavasana, that the backs of your knees are supported, but not so much that it keeps your legs in a very straight and squared position. I want your legs to kind of flop out to the side. So as your legs widen, find the right positioning for your blocks and find that right angle so they support underneath the backs of the knees and they still feel nice and comfortable. So adjust, make those little bit of movements until you feel more settled, more relaxed, and more comfortable. Arms can drop out to the sides, slightly tuck the shoulders, let the front of the chest roll open. Get out those last little bits of movement. And exhale, let all of your breath out. Take a slow breath in through the nose. Really focus on the belly and lower back, but also expanding all the way up into the rib cage and chest, upper back. Holding it here. Retain the breath for a moment. And then open up the mouth and let it go. One more time. Slow breath in through the nose. Fill up belly, ribs, and chest. Back body and sides. Holding. And then just open up the mouth and release. Let everything go. Let everything sink heavy into this shape. Releasing all effort, control. And just allow yourself to be here. For the next couple of minutes, enjoy the stillness. Slowly start to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Work the movement up into your wrists and into your ankles. And then stretch the arms over your head. As you reach back, reach out through your legs, your feet, your toes. If you have the blocks underneath the knees, sometimes it feels good to press the legs into the blocks and lift your hips away from the ground. Maybe shift into the hips a little bit, open everything up. And then hips back down, start to bend the knees, draw the knees towards the chest, arms wrap around the legs, swaying yourself from left to right here a couple times until you're able to sway all the way over to either side, whichever side you choose, fetal position. Use your top hand to press into the floor in front of you, lean in and come all the way up into a seat of your choice. You can move the blocks out of your way. Once you're in your seat, close your eyes, spine lifts up tall, join your hands together at your heart center. With the hands at your heart, scan over your body, take a deep breath in, open up your mouth, and deep breath out. Thank your bodies for all that they do for you. And thank you so much for allowing me to guide you today. Open up your eyes whenever you're ready. So hopefully that felt nice and relaxing for you, but also gave you a good opening into the hips and into the lower back. I would love to hear how you're feeling after this practice. Share with someone you think may enjoy it. And I'm very much looking forward to practicing with y'all again soon. Thanks so much.